Aloha, my name is Roger Jelinek. I'm Executive Director of the Hawaii Book and Music Festival. This is our 17th annual event, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all to this initial session. And I look forward to seeing you many times over the coming month, and thank you for attending. And, aloha participants, congratulations to the winners. And Eric, over to you. Aloha.
Aloha kako. Greetings from the Hawaii Literary Arts Council and the lovely island of Oahu. I'm Eric Paul Shaffer, the HLAC board member and trustee for the Elliot Cades Award for Literature. If you wish, during the seminar, the chat will be open for your questions and comments, and congratulations. Also, if we have time after the ceremony, which I believe we may probably have, I'll ask awardees to respond to questions, and we may even open up the mics. All right. HLAC, the Hawaii Literary Arts Council, was founded in the 60s as a nonprofit organization to support activities and projects of Hawaii's literary community. Over the decades, HLAC has supported numerous readings, publications, workshops, programs in schools and prisons, and other events. Many in the audience have been active in HLAC and part of these efforts. One difference today is that we no longer receive public funds, but are privately supported, and our mission is significantly reduced in the past decades. HLAC has been an enthusiastic participant in the annual Honolulu Book and Music Festival. We thank Roger Jelinek, his team, and hosts the University of Hawaii at Manoa for including us in this year's virtual version of the former May weekend gathering downtown. We were going to have my fellow board member, John Simons, who is also the HLAC treasurer, introduce the first introducer. But instead, I will tell you about the Loretta Petrie Awards and then introduce. Since 2016, HLAC has sponsored the Loretta D. Petrie Award for outstanding service to the Hawaii literary community. The award sustains the caring legacy of Loretta Petrie, a former HLAC leader, retired Chaminade University faculty member, editor, and mentor to many other writers who generously included HLAC in her will. Loretta Petrie died in 2014 at the age of 85. All right, now to introduce the first Loretta Petrie Award winner, we have Christy Passion. I believe. Hold on, am I getting this wrong? No, I'm sorry. We have Susan Schultz, my good pal from UH Manoa. Go ahead, Susan. Sorry about that.
I'll be Christy Passion. I don't mind. Okay. My introduction is after Joe Brainerd's I Remember. And I am remembering my mentor and friend, Marie Hara, who introduced me at one such award, and hoping to pass on some of her mana to Jaimie. I remember a young graduate student named Jaimie, arrived recently from Seattle, sitting in my office in the late aughts, who told me that Honolulu needed a reading series and she intended to start it. I remember thinking, well, there's a can of worms. I remember not saying it. I remember her strong and buoyant voice that day, and from then on in classes, meetings, readings, over coffee, and at her beautiful wedding to Evan. My late colleague, Miriam Fuchs, who was pithy, once turned to me and said of Jaimie, that voice. I remember offering what I thought was sound advice to Jaimie and her not following it. But as the poet Tony Trujillo notes, stubbornness matters to an artist. You're doomed without it. I'll say nothing about being doomed with it. That's for another sphere entirely. I remember not knowing what MIA meant, except like everyone of my generation, missing in action. I remember her MIA, mixing innovative arts, at the Mercury Bar in Chinatown, where the bartender waited until well into a reading to loudly shake the ice and shake it again. I remember the series moved to Fresh Cafe in Kaka'ako, where there was no barkeep that I remember. I remember there was a window behind the performers in the Mercury Bar. I remember Kaya Sands showing a flickery movie there about the Pacific Northwest. I remember Gerald Sharoma projecting doctored Shakespeare sonnets and beautiful bits of graffiti on the wall. He's from San Diego, but I remember thinking very East Coast. I remember a fabric artist 2 or 3 times who performed in huge outfits he'd made. I don't remember what he did, just his imposing and comical and fabricated presence. I remember the wide range of Jaimie's selections for the series: local, international, continental, funny, sad, creepy, down to earth, award winners and losers both. I remember her engaging introductions that she clearly loved bringing artists together. I remember that Jaimie could not have done this had she not been such a fine poet herself. Her book, Any Jar, is brilliant. Read and remember it, from Black Radish Books. I remember the book as a love song and an elegy stitched together. I remember there was a terribly serious poem that had a cock sling in it. I remember when Jaimie gave MIA away, a great act of generosity. She was becoming my mentor. I will remember how truly she deserves this award for her brilliance and her ability to bring writers together. And because we're on Zoom and I am over 21 years old, I will raise a glass to Jaimie.
Thank you so much, Susan. I'm like actually tearing up. Excuse me. I know that's so ridiculous, but that means so much to me. So thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. All right. So thank you, Susan. Thank you for this award to HLAC for choosing me. I feel really grateful, but also like this kindness obviously overwhelms me because I deeply miss being so close to a literary community and having these events and like just thinking about how they really brought everyone together. And mixing innovative arts really was supposed to bridge the gap between the academic world where lots of us literary folks live and the community where there are a lot of writers who are interested in going to poetry readings, seeing crazy performance fiber art, and just opening up the world to them. So I deeply miss that, and I'm really grateful I got to be a part of it. So thank you to everyone here. Congratulations to the winners. I'm grateful to Joseph Hahn, who took on MIA after I gave it away, and grateful to Emily Benton, who also took it on after that. I believe that it had officially been a 9.5, almost, or maybe a 10-year run before the organizers eventually left the island. So I don't really know in this crazy pandemic-y, post-pandemic-y world if anyone will be picking up the ball where it has been left, but I really hope to see that happen in the future. But I'm really grateful for my time doing it. And thank you, Susan, for being my mentor and allowing me to take on Tinfish Press and committing a portion of my life to publishing voices of the Pacific region. I think it's very important to continue that work. So I'm very grateful for that too. So thank you. I'm going to read a poem from my book, Any Jar. And I'll start there. And I have a few newer poems as well. I'll try to be honest about the time. I'm sure I cried for 5 minutes, so we're good. This poem is called Any Jar on Physicality and Pain. Even apart from all things that go on in the glassless world, the any jar is emotional. It is empathy that gets to the jar. A terrible attack lunges toward the any jar's awkward attachments. The any jar imagines some hand wrapped around its bottleneck, an image of throb and thwack, the violence of not knowing how the end will take itself to the most serious corner of the earth and go without uttering an ache. This seems painful, says the any jar. This seems unlike any movie I've seen, says any jar. And the any jar, all theatrical but sincere, cringes in the pain that is not pain. I cannot conjure a response because what seems is nonetheless unstitched. So I say, there is no symbol for the universe to unequivocally agree. Yes, this is grief. Put it on. Take a hefty walk. Never stop. How do you project this idea of mourning onto glass when there is the insistence to feel it into blue, cold, lifeless excitement? As though it were water with its emptiness, its thrashing. It hardly makes any sense. The any jar huffs, wants the Polaroid version of things like loss, fear, and hurt, even more than it wants happiness, success, or freedom. There is cruelty, and then there is the condition of desiring the experience of a deliberate pain. And there is no general relief to gain from this insight. Like the any jar, the disasters we place on the tear are weightless. The immeasurable, only attached to the physical, can stimulate the solid, repetitive internal structure and make it shallow as a nail. And that's from my book, Any Jar. So I have a couple newer poems to read. They're mostly pandemic-y or motherhood-y, but that's kind of where I am in my life right now. And this one is a 4-part poem, and tucked inside is a villanelle, which I'm obsessed with villanelles. So I hope you enjoy that. What I don't understand about blood. 1, my father bought a gun. Where did he go? Before the riot, the wind fetched a white monarch. A comet exploded. My daughter asked, where did he go? Don't deny relics of fire. They're ghosts in fire. 2, don't deny relics, they're fire. My father bought a gun. It burned out with the sun. Don't deny relics, they're fire. My father bought a gun, partly for fun. Isn't this fun? Don't deny relics, they're fire. My father bought a gun in case he couldn't run. If Narcissus lived to have a son, worked 50 years, then retired, no one would deny him his fire. My father bought a gun. 3, hello? Back from the gun range, made a turkey meatloaf, no salt, bullets are expensive, sold the boat, the bass weren't biting. How is your mother? I have tennis in the morning, I'll sell the Subaru, bullets are expensive. The marriage was over. I'll come see you. I'll knock on your door, a puddle of blood at your door. 4, my father bought a gun after his first Social Security check arrived, after the 250,000th death was recorded in the United States. What I don't understand about blood is the boiling point, is the separation of water from bloodness. With a continent between two bodies, blood currents bloom into phantom reefs. I'm no barnacle. I'm no limb broke. I'm a copy code. I'm a copy code. I'm a copy code. And I just have two more. This is called The House on Alabama Ave. I believe in haunted houses that smell like perfume. I have melanoma of my skin, my soul skin like my dead friend. Shellfish almost killed her first. First is not always best. Best is not a word we use in this house. Ghosts don't appreciate competition. Walls can get hungry. Laundry can get hangry. I once had a bra for 10 years until I learned it was a noose. I am a feminist. I wear perfume. I smell my dead body by the gate. There are dogs here. They bark like toads. Have you ever seen a dead toad removed from her insides? This is a cancer for our road, says the HOA. I can't get behind this third degree of separation. The front door was red. The front door was red and open. And my last poem is called The New Domestic. And for those of you who know me in my poet life, I now do a lot of ceramic art. So this kind of engages with that process. The New Domestic. I throw a ball of clay onto the wheelhead, carelessly, as I would a fat steak into a hot pan. I sear it, push it down like a riled ghost with the palm of my hand. After I load the washer, I make my hole and pull the sides of the clay body to the highest point until it resembles a cup. This poem came to me during the spin cycle. 4 little legs lash at me like knives, wet with morning raspberries and hardened oats. I think of my mother furiously mopping her floor. I am my mother furiously swiffering, crying. I clean up, get the baby to sleep and return to the cylinder, dusted by a grassy gust of wind off mountains I used to climb. Will this clay become a cave now that I can scream into it? Who is the mother here and why should that matter? Men have told me never write poems like this. Nothing good is born from laundry and unfinished art. I fold the laundry and pursue my art. I can do everything, so slowly I'll die. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaimie. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. I don't have an introduction for Christy either, but I will introduce her as one of the Fab Four, who has no choice but to follow, and will be introducing our second Petrie Award winner, Marion.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, John.
Just in time. Okay, our second Petrie Award introducer is award-winning poet and full-time critical care nurse, Christy Passion, a previous Cades recipient who has collaborated with other local writers in well-known Bamboo Ridge Press anthologies, and is the author of Still Out of Place, a poetry collection published by Bamboo Ridge. Her work also has appeared in literary journals elsewhere, and she's been nationally recognized by the Academy of American Poets. And in an interview with Honolulu magazine, she compared her work in an ICU unit with writing poetry. And so I think that she brings what I would call intensive care to her work. Christy, thank you for being an introducer.
Let me unmute myself. Thank you, John. Thank you. Wow, that shook things up there. It is my very big honor to introduce Marion Lyman. I want to point out that Juliet Connolly, whose work I am beyond impressed with and is someone who I consider my mentor, should be in my stead introducing Marion And I say that not because I don't appreciate this opportunity, but I believe Juliet's work and breadth of work can speak to the same caliber of what Marion has done with her work. So I will make my humblest attempt to just introduce the Marion I know. I know her for several years now as we've been writing together, whereas I tend towards the tragic, darker parts of the heart. Marion is my counterpart, the life force, the creativeness, the butterflies, the grandbabies, and it is a beautiful thing to sit in the room with her. She has been writing and creating for numbers of years. She is a playwright. She is a teacher. She is a philosopher. My first place of an awness of her, did I say that correctly? I'm not an academic, people, so you too can write poetry. But was the fact that she was on the Hokulea with Eddie Aikau. And it is that for Native Hawaiians that while a real event it is etched in us as legend and lore, and she was a part of that. And that has been speaking to much of her work, or some of her work. And Eddie Winco is a play that finally came out to speak to that. During the pandemic, where I was wounding my mind with my work, Marion was also crafting films like Open Your Hearts Wide, and Eddie Winco actually went out into the world to be seen and viewed. She is such a singular, good Hawaiian soul that when you are sitting in your presence, there's nothing but peace and joy that radiates from her. It is a true honor to know her. It's a true honor to work with her. And I look forward to all the work that she will continue to bring. Congratulations, Marion.
Oh, tira. Ahui. Aloha mai kako. Christy, mahalo. Mahalo nui for all of that. Wow. I just want to start by saying what an honor it is. I'm very honored and humbled to be among the stellar list of past recipients of the Loretta Petrie Award. And to be with this young rising star, risen star, Jaimie, from a whole nother generation. Many generations, no, I don't think too many separate us. Same age as my sons, I think. I want to extend my mahalo nui to the Hawaii Literary Arts Council and to those who supported my nomination, especially Juliet Connolly, who initiated my nomination. My writing has been influenced by many of the previous honorees who have shared their creative craft and enhanced Hawaii's literary community. I believe my major contribution has been reading aloud many stories and poems of local authors to Arcadia residents. And these local authors, mostly I'm pulling from those who are published in the excellent examples of Hawaii's unique literature, the Bamboo Ridge anthologies. I especially want to thank George Engebretson at Watermark, who first published Eddie Winco, the story of the upside down canoe, which gave me the confidence to continue the work of writing. Actually, that was after I wrote Eddie Would Go in Honolulu magazine that I continued on that. I'd also like to thank Eden Lee Murray, who saw potential in the play I adapted from the book and produced the play at Hawaii Theater in 2014. Both the story and the play were written with the singular purpose of honoring famous big wave surfer Eddie Aikau for his courageous attempt when he left capsized Hokulea on a surfboard in an effort to save our lives. I was glad to see a revised version produced at Kennedy Theater, as Christy mentioned, this year, but sorry more people couldn't attend due to COVID restrictions. During the years that I was an 8th grade social studies teacher, I enjoyed encouraging my students to put a creative spin on our many projects by writing poetry. One summer at a Hawaii writing project I attended, Ke Aloha taught spoken word poetry, which is technically all poetry. My students enjoyed working with poetic devices, especially rhythm and rhyme, while connecting their research to contemporary issues for various presentations. And the late Joe Sugimoto, who was a past Elliot Cades awardee, was a former colleague and mentor of mine. Joe made sure our students had a solid poetry foundation, and the work our students did was quite impressive. So before I just say my thanks one more time, I want to go ahead and just throw out, since I did write the children's book, Eddie Go, and then the play, I have followed it up with a poem, also called Eddie Go. The kapena never let go. He thought he'd one get authority. Stay choke windy, 8 to 10 feet in the Kaiwi, but Fossey and Ariyoshi went give us lay that March day, 78. We went drink ava and clap our hands. The crowd went sing Hawaii aloha, and we went tell ahui ho. Then went throw the dock lines and sail so fast past Waikiki. The holes went gallop up and down the swells of the Kaiwi. The lashings went creak, the ocean went splash, the sky stayed clear, the stars stayed bright. Then at midnight, the kapena went yell, all hands on deck, go help bail, he tell. Then one big swell went lift up one pole, and one big gust make like we just one leaf on top the ocean, and went huli, the huge canoe. We hang on tight all night, we stay wet, we stay cold, some stay sick on this now not going Tahiti trip. One guy like paddle a surfboard for save the crew. This Waimea lifeguard when rescue hundreds of folks, some malihini, some drunk mokes, any kind of loss of life. This Hawaiian like prevent. The kapena never like give consent. He say, try wait for the planes in the morning light. We hang on tight all night. We hear, feel, see each swell. They break white. We stay wet, we stay cold, some stay sick on this now not going Tahiti trip. The sky stay clear, the stars stay bright. The morning never had one flight. We went drift far from any kind of airplane lane. The lifeguard guy went axe again. The kapena went axe some other men. Then the guy went tied aboard to him. This guy went surf huge Waimea, vivo ole, no fear. You know, like wear the life vest, you know, like extra gear. We hold hands, say one pule. We went go on top, he went go on top his knees and went paddle away. We hang on tight, now stay light. We still see the swells break white. We stay wet, we little bit warm. Some stay sick on this now not going Tahiti trip. The sky stay clear, the sun stay bright. Later that second night had one flight. When see the flares, we went shoot. They circled 3 times, then blinked the lights. Later, we tell a helicopter pilot, one guy went leave for save our crew. He went paddle away from the canoe for go find our rescue. Plenty people went go search. Then few days later, we go church at the beach that he went guard, at the bay that stay like his backyard. The man stayed great who give his life for his friends. That's from the good book, the Kahu went tell. Then the bay rise up high with one big swell. Some say Eddie went go, but seems like he stay close kind to the bay. So mahalo again to the Hawaii Literary Arts Council, Christy for the introduction, and to the Hawaii Book and Music Festival. Mahalo.
Eric, are you unmuted?
I don't think so.
Oh,
Hang
okay.
on. Hold on.
So
Okay, so I would like to introduce a little bit about the Cades Awards, and then we'll get started on the Cades winners. The Elliot Cades Award for Literature, awarded annually since 1988, were established by Charlotte and J. Russell Cades in memory of his brother Elliot, a teacher and lover of literature. Since that time, there have been 68 awardees, many of whom are present today. And in this, the 34th year of the awards, we add two more fine writers. The awards were administered by the Hawaii Literary Arts Council, founded in '74 to encourage and promote literature and literary activity in Hawaii. I will introduce Dr. April Ching, who will introduce Derek Otsuji. Dr. April Ching received her PhD from the University of Hawaii at Manoa and a master's from the University of Helsinki in the delightfully chill nation of Finland, where she lived for 9 years, teaching business English, to everyone in the country. April loves books, language, and enjoys teaching because sharing stories with others is both vocation and avocation. She's now an assistant professor of English at Honolulu Community College. Thank you for being here, April.
Thanks, Eric. Hello, everybody. Aloha. It's a pleasure to be here. Born on Oahu, Derek Otsuji is the author of The Kitchen of Small Hours, selected by Brain Turner for the Crab Orchard Poetry Series Open Competition and published by SIU Press in 2021. He's a 2019 Tennessee Williams Scholar and has received awards from the Bread Loaf Environmental Writers Conference and the Kenyon Review. His poems are widely published in local, national, and international journals, including 32 poems, Bamboo Ridge, the Beloit Poetry Journal, Crazy Horse, Rattle, the Southern Review, the Three Penny Review, and Wildness. Otsuji's work is rooted in storytelling centered on family life. His poems enact the human drama propelled by the momentum of the past. That's McKinney. As another reviewer notes, he captures fundamental human experiences: loss, pain, frustration, fear, loneliness, guilt, desire, nostalgia. Moving through the poems, this reviewer continues, there is a sense of companionship that you begin to feel with the voices in this book. And though in these pages, there are stories of illness, loss, separation, and grief, they ultimately affirm the ties that bind generations together: tradition, ritual, memory, story, and food. The judge's citation for The Kitchen of Small Hours captures this affirming quality of Otsuji's work. There is a sweetness and reverence here that is rare in contemporary poetry, and it is something the body can experience only in the reading, something layered into the word love. It is my honor to turn it over to Derek Otsuji.
Thank you, April, and thank you, Hawaii Literary Arts Council. I wanted to thank also Marion for mentioning Joe Tsujimoto. Joe Tsujimoto was my teacher. I was a 9th grader when he introduced me to Catcher in the Rye. And until that time, I was really a kind of indifferent reader of literature, I guess. It was that class of Joe's that I guess kind of lit the fire. And I had an opportunity to talk with him just before he passed away. I believe it was at the Bamboo Ridge 40th anniversary. He was in attendance, and I was able to speak with him and to let him know that years ago, I I was a student of his, and he was actually the reason why I was there at the Bamboo Ridge Gala event. So I really appreciate that name. That name means a tremendous amount to me. And I also wanted to say to Christy Passion, who, aside from being one of my favorite poets. I mean, I always tell her this, but it's true. I mean, she's terrific. And what I wanted to say though was that I'm glad you're here today because when you received the award, I was in the audience, and I don't know if you remember the speech you gave, but I remember that speech because it electrified me. To this day, I remember it. And I know you said there was this part of the speech where you were talking about people with roots in Hawaii and how people with Hawaii roots, you know, when they have the courage to step onto the national stage, just kind of rocket to the top. And as proof that this was true, you mentioned Bruno Mars, The Rock, and Barack Obama, you know, and then you said, and then you kind of called on Hawaii poets, right? Hawaii writers to do the same, you know, in the world of poetry as these great artists and leaders had done in their respective fields. And I don't know how seriously you meant it, but I took it seriously. And I left inspired and really wanting to, I guess, stake a claim in the world of literature for Hawaii voices, you know, and I will never forget that speech. I hope you have a copy of it somewhere and that you'll actually send it to me, because I had not published a book. In fact, I only published my first book last year. So I hadn't published, I'd published a little bit here and there, but that speech, you know, really moved me, and it inspired me to kind of get my act together and say, let's see what we can do. So I just wanted to thank you for that important speech in my life. So I'll just read three poems from my book, The Kitchen of Small Hours. And my writing really is rooted in family stories. And I guess part of the reason why I wrote this book in the first place was I had no idea that would become a book. I would just hear these stories, and I realized if I don't write them down, like after like my this generation, when they pass on, if they're not written down, they're gone, right? They're gone. There's just not going to be there anymore. So these are all things that I kind of grew up listening to. So the first one is called Among the More Innocent Touristic Amusements of the Old Waikiki. Freakish as it sounds now, there was a time when kids dove and swam in the Alawai, launching from the lip of a concrete bridge that arches over its languishing flow. My father tells the story of tourists who came to the bridge to amuse themselves, tossing dimes into the canal to watch as he and bearskin cousins, brown as seals, dove in to chase the winged heads down dim depths, the flicked coins tumbling, tail over stamped face, in minted showers, thin slivers of light, before each plunked disc shivered and then sunk, dry spectator and scurrying swimmer both holding in their collective breath until a clenched fist, hard as American cash, smashed that cage of glass and waved like a flag. This next poem, I wanted to read because it's actually a pandemic poem, but a pandemic that happened 50 years ago when the pathogen was tuberculosis. So back then, if you were unfortunate to contract tuberculosis, you had to be quarantined. And in my grandmother's case, she was quarantined for, I think, a little over a year in a hospital called Mahelona Hospital, which is on the island of Kauai, which still exists there. And when we were on Kauai for a funeral of an aunt of mine, my mom took me to that hospital. She just wanted to see if it was still there because she remembered going there to visit her mom when she was a child. She was only 8 years old, I think, when her mom ended up in the hospital quarantine for tuberculosis. So this is a poem about that. It's called My Mother Revisits Mahilona Hospital, where her mother had been quarantined 50 years ago. Every Sunday that year, we drove all the way from Kalaheo to Kapa'a town, where mother stayed, confined to one room. The roads were bumpy. I always felt a little nauseous after the long car ride that seemed like forever. Tubercular, prescribed to bed rest, she was kept from us. Father would go in to visit her alone, while the twins and I stood outside in the middle of the big grassy lawn, waiting, looking up to the second floor, until she came to the window and waved at us from there. Funny how the building seemed so much taller back then, but of course I was a child, and everything looks different to you as a child. And maybe too, it was that waving at her to the window there up on the second floor, my mother, whose terrible love had loomed so close, at one stroke seemed so tiny and so far away. Okay, I'll read one last poem. I thought I saw in the participants my niece's name there. So I wanted to read a poem in which she figures a small part, and also to kind of commemorate a big moment in our family's life. So my dad's a farmer, and he's farmed all his life, but he's recently retired, and we're sort of passing on the farm to an upcoming farmer who has the same vision that my dad had. And if you know anything about like that generation, there's a lot of it's not really bartering, but it's like people who, you know, you just give stuff and you don't expect any money for it. You just like bring other stuff, right? Like and so it represents to me a kind of ethic that locals had of sharing what they had, right? And so this poem is called On the Recent State of Our Local Economy. A Portuguese man speaking a pure musical pidgin comes to my father's farm to buy some green onions, which he will use to make his famous blood sausage. My father goes to the field to harvest a generous bunch of the slender blue-green stalks punched up through the rich volcanic dirt. When the Portuguese man offers to pay, my father declines. The Portuguese man insists. My father waves the money away. They go back and forth like this a few times in this clash of generous wills until my father wins out and the Portuguese man walks away with a chagrined but genuine thank you, though by the look on his face, you can tell he is determined not to be outdone. My father doesn't see this man again until months later in July, when he shows up at the farm unannounced with a bucket of Mapulehu mangoes, picked fresh from the shaggy dooryard tree fronting his house. The bucket arrives the same week that my nieces and nephew are visiting from Utah. They love mangoes, the taste of local life they left behind for white desert skies and affordable housing. The Mapulehus are green, red, and peach cream gold. Their autumnal globes hold out a promise of sunlight mellowed into sugar. My father looks on with pleasure as his grandkids relish each fleshy slice, and down the chin of the youngest dribbles a sun drop of juice. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. That was wonderful, as always. Okay, so I'm back now to introduce Lisa Lynn Kanai, and she is an English professor at Kapiolani Community College, best known for her poetry and short stories written in Pidgin. Born and raised in Kapahulu on the island here, She worked for many years before going back to school, and then accidentally became an instructor, but not before. She worked at Borders just like me and entertained us with the story of her years working there. One of my favorite books ever, Islands Linked by Ocean. Well, actually, one of the first Hawaii literature books I read was her delightful Sister Tongue, which was brought into the world by Susan Schultz at Tinfish Press. Wonderful book. And now I'd like to say, hi, Lisa, you're on.
Thanks, Eric. So my first encounter with the author, Anne Inoshita, was through her 2007 collection of poetry titled Manoa Stream. And for me, one of the most memorable poems, they're all memorable, but the one I remember the most from that collection is titled Red Banana in the First Grade. Because in the poem, the narrator has drawn a banana and colored it red. And even if her teacher insists that bananas are not red, bananas are yellow, the narrator knows that red bananas exist because her mother says they do. So a little bit from the poem, my mother said, the red kind for cooking, but she never cooked red banana before. I look at the empty table and ask my mother again, get red bananas, yeah? She would smile and tell me, of course, get red banana. Then I show her my picture from school and she put the pimple on the icebox. How's that for validation, gang? Right? Yeah. So a common thread in Anne's work is how the narrators, it's usually a pidgin speaker, although she's written stuff in standard, which I really love too. But this pidgin narrator voice, she get them because it's who she is, yeah? So a common thread in Anne's work is how the narrator is usually a pidgin speaker. The perspective of the world is validated by home, by family, and Hawaii life, especially in the face of someone not from Hawaii who insists his or her perspective is the only perspective. So since Manoa Stream, Anne has authored several books. You can go read her bio. It's like this long. Most notable, of course, are the collaborative Renshi collections published by Bamboo Ridge, What We Must Remember and No Choice to Follow, and many individual pieces published in many literary journals locally and nationally. Yeah, I know she has so much more writing to share. Anne Inoshita is an assistant professor of English at Leeward Community College. When asked how she would like her work to inspire others, she said, there are many ways to write a poem or story. Be proud of your unique voice. Everyone should value who they are and the places that shape them. So it seems as if Anne's work as a poet, a teacher, a creator, and a generous supporter of Hawaii literature stems from a kind of advocacy, yeah? The kind of advocacy that helps people understand that there are many worldviews and that to insist there is only one way of seeing the world is not only myopic, it is dangerous. So through her art and community contributions for which she's being honored this afternoon, Anne Inoshita not only reminds us that literature written from Hawaii Creole English has so much depth and intelligence, she also encouraged all of us to share our voices and ways of knowing. She is an inspiration to me. So today, I am so proud to call Anne Inoshita a good friend, and I am so honored to introduce her as the recipient of a 2022 Elliot Cades Award for Literature. Oh my kai, girl. Osukare demashita.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh goodness. Thank you, Lisa, and thanks for everything. And you know, also, I mean, as you can see, there's a whole list of people I want to thank, but I know I don't want to thank the whole day because it'll take a long time. But I mean, thank you, Lisa, and I know Juliet Connolly's name was mentioned, and you know, she even wrote I have to say, the introduction to my book, my first book. And that was when, in the days, as we all know, before we get, known and we're, publishing our first poems. And Juliet Kono-Lee was the one who gave me a chance and wrote the introduction. And basically, all the presses in Hawaii, thank you. And for all of the publishers, I just want to say thank you to the Hawaii Literary Arts Council. I'm grateful to be the recipient of this year's Elliot Cades Award for Literature for an established writer. Also, thank you for all your support, everyone who supported me through the years, including educators from elementary school to graduate school, publishers including Bamboo Ridge Press, everyone at Bamboo Ridge Press. So everyone's been so supportive, and Kahua Omanoa Press, and all the presses here, family, friends, friendship poets, and the strong community of writers in Hawaii. I just want to read 3 poems, and actually, I was gonna, I think I'm just gonna add the red banana poem too. So, but it's just like short. So, the first one is TV. Going come dark, so my mother called me for go back inside the house. Can smell tonkatsu from the kitchen, and my mother turn on the TV. Dinner going to be ready soon. I watch TV and they playing Superman. Mommy, one day I'm going to save everybody. I'm going to be Superman. She turned the tonkatsu over in the pan and tell me that's one good idea. Then get on commercial about trips to Hawaii. Mommy, one day we're going Hawaii. She look at me funny kind. I tell her, as one good idea for go Hawaii, everybody can live in grass shacks and going to be good fun for drink the kind tropical drink with a fruit and umbrella and stay outside all the time. She tell me we live Hawaii. I look at her. No, we don't live Hawaii. We live in one house like everybody on the TV. She tell me one more time, we live Hawaii and dinner going to be ready pretty soon. My mother don't know what she talking about. We don't live Hawaii. Now the TV playing one old movie. My mother said it's Breakfast at Tiffany's, and the lady, the actress Audrey Hepburn, look like one nice lady. I like her. Get one wild party and this guy with small eyes talking weird. I don't know what he's saying. Mommy, who that guy? My mother no answer, and she moved the katsu on one plate. She tell me dinner ready. I eat, and she tell me we're gonna have spaghetti tomorrow. I like spaghetti. So who the guy with the small eyes in the movie, the one that talk funny? She tell me she don't know who him, but in the movie, he's supposed to be one Oriental guy. Yeah. She would nod and tell me for eat. What, Oriental? She looked surprised. Us Oriental. I thought we Japanese. We Japanese? After she power wash dishes, she hold me close and I can hear her heart and her voice vibrate when she talk. Then she stroked my hair and I get sleepy. My mother thinks she know everything, but she don't know. I'm not Oriental. I don't live Hawaii. And one day I'm gonna save everybody, just like Superman. The next one is red banana in the first grade. My mother went get red banana from somebody yesterday, so I'm gonna color my banana red for show the teacher that I smart. The teacher went walk by for see how I doing. I smile showing her my picture. Then she asked if bananas are red. I proudly tell her, yes. Her face would change right there. She would look real mad and tell me, bananas are not red, bananas are yellow. I never know what to say. After school, I would look for the red banana at home, but no more. Then my mother came home and I asked her, where the red banana? My mother said she would give them to somebody. I told her my teacher said no more red banana, only get yellow kind. My mother said the red kind for cooking, but she never cooked red banana before. I look at the empty table and ask my mother again, get red banana, yeah? She would smile and tell me, of course get red banana. Then I show her my picture from school and she put the paper on the ice box. The Japan trip. My family been here a long time. I don't remember when they went leave Japan. We've been here before, in Hawaii before statehood. My bacha wanted us to visit Japan, but because I never been there before, and she went introduce me to the family. It was one long trip and my body all tired because I stayed jet lag. We visit all the tourist kind place. I don't know what they think of me. They come up to me and start talking Japanese. Then I gotta tell them, wakarimasen. I don't understand what they're talking, that's why. Remind me of when I go Waikiki, people extra nice to me, like they're gonna sell me something. Then when I open my mouth, they know I'm not from Japan, so they go away. Hey, maybe I get money. Maybe I like buy something, whatever. When go visit my family in the country, at the house, my bacha went drop to the floor and bow so low, I never know what for do. I just stand on the side in my jeans and I feel so stupid. I don't like insult nobody and I don't know what for do. My bachan start talking Japanese and I don't know what she talking. More better if I went pay more attention after elementary school when I used to go to the Honwanji mission for learn Japanese. Hard for study Japanese, but when you be like everybody else and nobody talking Japanese. Look like my bachan explaining something. Everybody stay nodding and smiling at me. Oh, good thing, man. Weird, yeah? I know how to be in my house, but I don't know what to do here. Sometimes hard for be local, sometimes hard for be American, and sometimes hard for be Japanese. Sometimes I feel like I don't belong no place. I wonder if people think before they come stay Hawaii. Hawaii good, but I know I will lose something. Hard for go back. And my last poem is an standard English poem. It's called The Uncreated. She lies on her bed and stares at the ceiling while her body is heavy from a cold. The smell of miso soup and warm squash cooked in dashi, shoyu, and sugar comes from the kitchen. As she looks at her empty notepad, she sees the clock's rotating hand. She stares at the uncreated until words assemble and sounds connect. The room fills with stories. I just want to say that, as we all know, Hawaii literature has diverse voices, rich in culture and language. It is an honor to receive this award. Mahalo.
Well, thank you. And thank you all, readers and introducers and recipients. At this point, we have, I guess, about 11 minutes. So if it's possible, put your questions or comments in the chat, or perhaps even our tech people can open it up so that anybody can jump in and ask a question. Is that possible, tech people? Are you there? All right, well, if somebody has a question, put it in. Okay, looks like I got an answer. Yeah, it's possible.
Eric, speaking of tech people, I pretty much established myself as not being one of them early, and I just put a lot of effort into trying to get everybody else's links, but my own didn't work. Anyway, I apologize if I disturbed anybody with my emergency room entrance, but I was eager to get here. I did, Eric may have covered this, but I just wanted to say just one word about Loretta Petrie. The council is extremely grateful to her and her family. She was an early leader and a motivating force for Hawaii Literary Arts Council, a member of Chaminade's University faculty and advisor, editor, writer, and mentor to many other Hawaii writers. And so the award was inspired by her unrestricted bequest to the council at the time of her death in March 2014. And we, every year, we try to recognize two individuals whose contributions to supporting the work of other writers continue her example. So I just wanted to say that and amplify what Eric may have said earlier. I just also want to say this, that we're very grateful to the Hawaii Book and Music Festival and Roger and Leanna, Victor, and others on the staff for the detailed work of putting this together. And I would just add a thank you to our friends at Bamboo Ridge Press for helping to promote this event. And we appreciate that very much. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, anybody that has anything to say that is linked into a microphone right now, you can go ahead. I want to say it's a pleasure to see you all again after living in the pandemic cave so long. Your faces remind me of the place I'm delighted to live. Thank you very much for being here.
You know what I miss? I miss giving people lei. So
Yeah,
here you go. Congratulations. I really miss that.
yeah, absolutely. Anybody have a comment or a question?
Well, I have a comment. I thoroughly enjoyed proceedings. Wonderful poetry and wonderful other passages. And it was great to see such a distinguished group of writers in one place. I'm so glad we were able to start the 17th annual festival with this event. So thank you very much. We're going to try very hard to be in person next year. It costs us an astonishing amount of money to put it on in person, but we're going to doing everything we can to get there. And I just want to say that we will be having a fundraiser on January the 26th. So please put that in your calendar and hope to see you there. Again, thank you so much for participating in this annual awards. Aloha.
Thank you, Roger.
Aloha. Thank you, everyone. Congratulations to us all. And hey, let me know when your next book is coming out.
Thank you, Eric, for moderating. Thank you.
No problem. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.